He pulls me over, gets out of his car, but stands next to it and starts waving at me to come over to him. So Cannonball has always been a passion of mine ever since I started watching the VINwiki videos about them. And I wanted to hit some sort of record, whether it be a solo record, a diesel record, any of the records that were post-COVID, because those environments don't exist anymore. My goal I set for myself was going to be 27 hours, just barely fast enough for the fastest guy. So of the solo record of 25:55, I learned that it was not real, or it was very much fabricated. I figured that was somewhat achievable, especially in my car. So my car is a 2015 BMW 535 diesel. I wanted it to be a diesel because they usually typically get better gas mileage, and with the Cannonballs, stops are important, right? The first thing I did pretty much within the first year of owning it was tuning it so I can be faster. Then the second thing I did was get the radar detector. My whole aspect with this car is to do the Cannonball and then be able to drive it to 250,000 miles. So it's all hidden in a little compartment. And then the third thing, of course, was the gas tank. Having that set up, buying the gas tank, and then getting it, installed was a little bit of a challenge, but all in all, I had about 40 gallons, and it gave me a range of going at high speeds of about 900 miles before having to stop, which was, very good thing. The radar detection is the Insta360 that has the laser jammer on the front and back. It's very low detection. You can't even see it. And it does all the different K bands and X bands and everything like that, all wrapped into one. As a solo driver, you want to be mindful as not having too much information come at you all at once. So I wanted to keep it as kind of as minimalistic as possible. And it did do its job, right? I got 0 speeding tickets. I pretty much knew where the cops were based on Google Maps or that thing. And it worked well. There was even one instance where I saw the cop on Google Maps, was driving normally, didn't hear any radars, and then he lasered me right on the back end. It's like, oh, he looks like he's going fast. I've done multiple cross-country trips, not just because of Cannonball. I was able to do the coast to coast, which was from San Diego to Jacksonville. That was kind of my prep run. I did that last year. I was like, I want to try and do it under 24 hours, see how well the car can do. Because, you know, when you start out, you have to go very high speeds, as fast as the car can, as fast as possible, as much as possible. Getting to 100 is one thing, 120 is another thing. And then when you get up into the high speeds, it's a whole nother level of things coming at you really, really fast. So you got to have some practice along with it. You can't just go and do the Cannonball and expect to have success, right? So I did a couple practice runs, Las Vegas to like LA, Las Vegas down to Phoenix, just to see how the car can do. And I was able to cut down a 4 or 5 hour drive down to, 3 hours or less, mostly because of traffic, right? And it all comes down to traffic. My car originally had stagger tires, and on the coast to coast run, I was always worried about a spare tire. After the coast to coast, I did a cannonball attempt, but got a flat tire right in the middle of it. And I was stuck dead in the water because I didn't bring a spare tire, because I would have needed to bring two, right? So I swapped out my tires to make them the same on all sides, got a spare tire and put it in the back just in case. Then I got also a flat tire repair kit because, I didn't want to be stuck dead in the water. So I tried to just plan it out where my start time, mostly because that's where I have control. I wanted to do as in the middle of the night as possible. I did it on a Monday because everybody already did their partying, they're sleeping it off and being slow to get up on Monday, right? So I left around 2 a.m. from the Red Ball garage, made it out of New York in pretty good time because there was absolutely no one on the road, like within anywhere. Early on, within the first, I would say, couple hours of me trying to floor it as fast as possible, I started getting check engine lights. One of the things I also did was to keep a monitoring of my engine. So I was running the torque app on a tablet so I can keep statistics and know everything that was going on with it. When I got those check engine lights, I immediately looked what they were. There was something related to fuel. It was very obscure what it was. So I tried to clear them, but they just kept coming back. If I kept flooring it though, it eventually went into limp mode, where if I kept the pedal on the floor, it wasn't going anywhere, right? So I had to pull over for a real quick, turn off the engine, turn it back on, clear the codes, get back on the road, only for the check engine lights to come back on. I have to make the decision, do I keep going or do I try again and try and fix the car? I decided to send it just because if I'm gonna blow up the engine, I might as well just do it, you know? Or if I'm gonna, if one way or another, I'm gonna make it, whether I'm limping along or not. But having it, the check engine lights be in Jersey, that was a long way to get there. So I decided to just keep going, but not floor it all the way, and just slowly make my way up to top speeds. I keep going at nighttime. I'm making pretty good headway. As the day progresses, there's more and more cars that get on. In the wee hours, about I would say 4 or 5 in the morning, when you have the construction crew or the early morning risers get on going to work, I ended up having quite a few, I call them citizens brigade type of people, where they don't like what I was doing with my driving, because I was either following too close or I was just going too fast for them. One but they decided to cut me off, get in front of me, and stay in front of me and block my traffic. A few of them had a few nice hand gestures along the way. During the day, I would get into the pockets of traffic, right? And it's either going to be cars passing cars, or cars passing trucks, or trucks passing trucks. And there's always that group of cars that always stay together. And then if you end up passing them, you'll have a nice couple miles road before getting on to the next one. And that was pretty much what happened the majority of the day, right? Yeah, I did get up to 151. A lot of that was because of the downhill going down the El Cajon Pass. Get up to my 120 and just like go down the giant mountain and without braking, which was a very fun experience because you don't get to do that doing in the El Cajon Pass. I pretty much had the check-in engine light on the entire time, and it didn't go into limp mode again after that, just the one time, and then I kept my foot off the throttle a whole lot, and then it did fine. But again, with the least amount of traffic during the nighttime, it is where I was able to achieve the highest speeds possible and maintain my high average. And then during the daytime, I had a lot of cars I would get up to 120, and then as soon as I get as close as I can to the car or the group of cars, I would slow back down to the 80 or 65, and we go in and out of them safely. Sometimes it would pass 10 cars that on the right because they're all lined up trying to pass one truck. And then I ended up getting in front of one person because he's too afraid to actually pass the truck while the other car's in front of him or something. And then in between those chunks of cars, go again, get up as fast as you can. It may last a minute or two and then slow back down to, 80, 70 or whatever. But then the whole achieving the speeds is all about, going as fast as you can whenever you can. So whenever I had an open road, I was going as fast as I can, regardless. My whole goal is to just make it there, right? The last attempt that I did, I got a flat tire, right? I just wanted to make it, whether it took me 35 hours or whether it took me 25 hours, right? I did get pulled over in Oklahoma. That was one of the weirdest stops I've ever experienced, and I get pulled over a lot. I was going in a construction zone, or coming up to a construction zone on the freeway in Oklahoma. And right before the construction started, there was the on ramp that came on. There was a car that was coming up and that would get in front of me and into the one lane. And I decided to kind of cut him off and get in front of him, but he decided he didn't like that. This was one of those citizens brigades that, really had some choice words, where he actually rolled down his window, put his head out, and was yelling at me something, right? And then gave me the hand gesture. Well, 20 minutes down the road, clear ahead of him, going through a whole bunch of other traffic, I start hearing my radar detector go off, right? I'm like, okay, I'll slow down, get behind these cars, these group of cars, and just kind of go the speed limit, cruise, and let them be, right? As soon as I pass him, he starts getting back on the freeway and is kind of following me at a distance to see what I'm doing, right? I know this. I hear him with his radar detection, so I just kind of mosey along until he gets up behind me and eventually pulls me over. He pulls me over, gets out of his car, but stands next to it and starts waving at me to come over to him. Right? He's like, "Come get out of your car, come over here. I want to talk to you," type of thing. I'm like, "No, I don't want to get out of my car." So I'm kind of doing the gestures back and forth between them until I finally decide, okay, I'll get out of the car. And I'm out in the grass area trying to talk to him while the cars are passing him. And to me, I've never had to get out of the car. So it was weird to begin with. He explains in Oklahoma how this is his standard procedure or something like that, where they have you get out of the car and sit in their car with you and write up the ticket. And he just wanted to talk to me or whatever. He also explained that some other driver had called me in, so he was waiting for me, right? And so after he said that, I'm like, okay, I'll get in the car, I'll talk to you. And he already said he would didn't get me on speeding, even though I was called in for speeding. And the only reason why he pulled me over because I was following too close. So I get in the car. He asked me a bunch of questions like, "Where are you going? Where are you coming from?" I'm like, "I'm going to LA. I'm coming from New York." Simple one word answers. He's like, "Okay, that's fine. I'm going to write you up for a warning." As I'm sitting in the passenger seat while he's typing out this warning ticket, I'm just asking him questions because that's the only thing I can do, right? He then admits that this wasn't his cruiser, it's a loaner cruiser, and he was having trouble with his laptop and printing the ticket. And he was like, "Okay, you're done. Just you can be on your way." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." I was in New Mexico driving along the 40 and I was getting, the sun was setting. And right around hour 22, hour 23 was when I was starting to get really, really tired. I took a 5 hour energy. It took a little bit to kick in, but right after my last stop in Kingman was when I got my second win with it and really made a strong push to the end. My time goal was to hit 27 hours or less. So I got close, didn't quite make it. The S6 was 25 hours, but that was during COVID. I figured 27 hours was somewhat respectable to get into, especially as a solo person, not knowing what to do. So I just tried to make a goal that was basically 24 hours plus 3 hours because of your time zone differences. Near the end, as I get into California, though, as I'm doing my second win and I'm making some great time, I'm going through LA really, really fast, right? And to get to Portofino, you're going from freeway to freeway to freeway, and then you eventually exit, right? Well, on one of the freeways that I get into, I'm going, 100, 110 until I pass this cop that seemed to be right on the freeway. But he wasn't running his radar, and so I didn't really see him until I passed him on the corner of my eye. So I immediately slowed down to the speed limit. He immediately gets behind me and follows me for a good 2 miles until he realizes that I'm not going to do anything wrong, and he just moves on his way. Once he moves on his way, exits, I get back up to my fast speeds until I get to the exit that you take to Portofino. I got off on Sepulveda, and as I was making my way to Portofino, it's the last stretch into Portofino, and there's several lights on that road, but it is a main road that everyone uses. 2 in the morning, no one's on the road. I didn't want to blow through red lights just to make a certain time. I wanted to be as cautious as possible, but it just so happened that every time I started slowing down to the light going, from 80 to 50, it turned green for me. And then I was able to continue on. And I actually, through that entire stretch, didn't hit a single red light, which was amazing. Well, as soon as I got to Portofino and for the security guard door, as soon as I got out, I immediately peed on the dock, and it was a great relief. My moving average was 105. My top speed was 151, and that was a hard thing to achieve. Total, it was 27 hours, 16 minutes, which was just 16 minutes over my goal. My total stop time was 32 minutes, but 12 to 15 minutes was because of the cop. If I didn't have the cop, I believe I could have made it in under the 27 hours, yes. That was another thing I wanted to make sure I did it post-COVID to see what a normal run would look like, right? You have the COVID people that did some incredible times, and then you have the normal people during normal hours or normal years, and wanted to see what I did then. I wanted to at least capture it via a couple of different GPS on a couple different devices, which I had my Drive Smart Garmin, I had my phone running Google Maps and my location timeline, and then under the Torque app, I also try to keep my location history on that, and it would save a GPX file as well as all the data logging that it did on the car as well. I figured the other things that would have been good enough would have been my geotagged and time-stamped photos of when I got there, of, back and forth. I figured that was good enough. I just learned about Glimpse after the fact from Mason. So I downloaded that and it's like, maybe on the next one I'll use that. A lot of other people have put a lot of time and effort into this, and I was doing it in a more or less minimalistic kind of way. And so being the solo person, having the record as a solo person is amazing, you know? And I don't think anybody is crazy enough to try it and beat that. I'm also proud that it's the diesel record. And I'm also very happy that it beat all the non-COVID records.
Congratulations, Chris, on an amazing run, and even more so for doing so safely and avoiding a speeding ticket during the encounter with Oklahoma law enforcement. But if you get a ticket on your next road trip, it's more important than ever to fight every single one, and the perfect partner in that fight is the Ticket Clinic. When you get a ticket, you'll be facing costly fines, insurance premium increases, points on your license, risks of suspension, even jail time, and the Ticket Clinic can help you to avoid all of that. You can contact them at the link in the description below or by taking a picture of your ticket and texting it to 305-305. They are a nationwide law firm with brick and mortar offices in Florida, Georgia, and California, but their nationwide network of attorneys can help you fight with a local attorney no matter where in the United States you get a ticket. So fight your next ticket with the Ticket Clinic and thank them for their support of VINwiki.